U.S. manufacturing is on the rise, and I find that very exciting. So the metal working industry is also growing. My guest today is going to tell us about that industry, some of the challenges the people in that industry are having, and how good quality sources can help you get those marketing channels you need to succeed year after year. But before we get started, my name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast, where I go all over the world talking with business leaders about their industry, what is working, what's not, and they're going to give you the advice so that you don't waste time on things that don't work. So let's jump in with my great guest today. It is Alan Berg, and he is the president and founder of TechGen Media. Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Great. Good morning, Donna.
It's a beautiful day here. I'm in Connecticut. I don't know. Where are you sitting?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay. We had a lovely snow last night. So it's this beautiful, pristine morning out there.
A pre-white Christmas, which is wonderful.
Yes, it is. It is. I was very interested to speak with you today because I am reading more and more about how U.S. manufacturing is on the rise. And TechGen decided to go into the metalworking space. And I'm wondering why you decided to do that so many years ago.
Well, my career, I had spent 25 years working for the Society of Manufacturing Engineering on their chip making and metal fabrication magazines. And when digital started to take hold, I knew that long term, it was going to replace print magazines. There was no question in my mind. And that is definitely what's happened. Obviously, part of the reason is the cost factor to print a magazine.
Yes, right.
And which is exorbitant. So print magazines have reduced their circulation year after year after year, reduced their editorial staffs year after year after year, to the point where many are going out of business right now, and many have, and more will in the future. Right. But the most important element is that there are, give or take, 100,000 shops in the US and Canada, a little more than that.
Okay.
And when you have print magazines reducing their circulation, and I won't mention names, but some have gone from 55,000 print to 24,000. Yeah. When you have 100,000 shops, many of them larger shops and requiring more than one copy of a magazine per person, you're not reaching your audience. Right. Your marketing is very, very ineffective.
You're only hitting a small segment of the whole target group you could be reaching.
Exactly. And especially as much if you're interested in reaching the US and Canada, because of protectionist policies, you can't have a print publication that reaches both countries. You have to have two separate publications.
Okay.
Digitally, you do not have that problem.
Right.
And when I started the TechGen Media Group 11 years ago, 12 years ago, the average age of the buyer, the key influencer, was about 55, 57 years old. Now, those people have long since retired. So the current generation of influencers are very digitally savvy.
And what do you say is the average age right now? Is it still at 55 for the influencers in this space?
Well, that's where it gets very, very interesting. Yes, there are 55-year-olds, and that's probably the majority, 50 to 55. But what's really important is that software and automation are what drives this industry. Many companies make great machines, great lasers, great press brakes, great machine tools. and they're fairly equivalent to each other. What sets them apart is their software and automation.
Interesting.
And
This is very interesting. I didn't take that part into the equation when we were talking about the metalworking space, about that with the automation. So would you say, what is the largest challenge in the metalworking space? Is it
well,
keeping current?
before we touch that, and what's very important is that even though you have 55-year-olds and 50-year-olds involved
Hmm.
in purchasing, they're delegating the analytics of the machine itself to 30-year-olds who understand software and automation.
Right, right.
So they are more influential in the purchase process than even the person who's 50 years old and signs a check.
Okay.
This is very, very key.
Yeah, that is key, because if you are hitting, and even, I'm not saying if you're 50 or 55 years old, because I'm in that, I'm in that bracket. I'm not saying you're not tech savvy, but you do have to understand the audience that you are trying to talk to,
That's
how
right.
old they are, and what might resonate better with a 30-year-old in the space versus a 50 or 55-year-old in the space.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when we started, frankly, I knew we were getting into this neck of the woods early on,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a number of years to develop your circulation organically,
Yes.
which is key, um, because you need an open rate, you need readership.
And
And to just,
organic is also key, because I've heard several publishers, and I'm not saying names, sometimes they'll just buy huge data and add it to theirs. And so they're not growing their list organically like you're talking about.
nor are they garnering quality circulation from their quality opens.
Right.
And this takes a very, very long time to develop.
Mhm.
And we were not deep pockets when we started. So I needed to get an early start before the big players and put our tentacles out there and
Yeah.
establish our footprint so we couldn't be challenged by companies with unlimited funds.
Right. Well,
And
then obviously, your thinking obviously paid off, because I know TechGen, you have 280,000 subscribers, I believe.
yes, yes, that's true.
And that's amazing, because in an area, of course, publishing, there's been a lot of changes in the publishing space. And as you mentioned previously, postal to digital, but you've seen publishers either close, merge, or just totally, cease operation.
Well, publishers do not want to send. When I started in the magazine business, which
Mhm.
is 40 years ago, the key to a business publication was saturating the market. Whatever market you were in was sending, ultimately, the goal was to send a copy to everybody in that who
Mhm.
had purchasing influence.
Mhm.
That's no longer the case because that makes you more unprofitable if you're a print publication.
Right.
So they're not looking to reach all the people that the company selling the equipment wants to reach. They're looking to reach a small part of it so they can maintain profitability.
Yeah.
Digitally, we do not have that problem. And digitally,
Yeah.
our circulation grows every single year because A, we don't charge anything, and B, it
Mhm.
doesn't cost us.
Right. But
The ads,
also, you also must have good content, because that is what keeps the subscribers with you year after year. Because if you didn't, even if you are going digital, if your content or what you were offering did not resonate with those people, they would unsubscribe.
exactly. And toward
Yes.
that end, and knowing this, the old axiom when I started
Mm.
was editorial, great editorial begets circulation, begets advertising. And I live by that axiom because it is so true. And towards that end, we have 5 full-time editors for our publications. And these people work exclusively for us. And we spare no expense. They're well paid. They stay with us. We do not.
That's key, especially nowadays, because you're seeing everyone move around jobs. But if you can keep your editors with you with long periods of time, that's where they're able to develop their knowledge, but they have a strong understanding of where the industry is going. So they're right at the front of what's happening in the space.
That's right. And print publications that we compete with and in the marketplace generally, they do not generate their own editorial. They just repurpose or take contributed editorial for
Okay.
entire content.
Mhm.
And I've heard on many occasions, someone will send in a product release and they'll say, we want to turn this into an article. Well, that's not good quality editorial.
No.
Good quality editorial is a company visit where the company is doing something unique and having the staff to be able to actually write that article
Yes.
in a compelling way and
Yes.
understand the machinery. And we have
Right.
that
Yeah, because you
in
don't
our.
want to get a magazine that's just regurgitating everything you're hearing someplace else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another key part to this is what I call a funnel.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted a funnel of reaching young subscribers when they entered the industry or just prior to them entering the industry. So we began a job search website exclusive to metalworking
Oh.
called abe.com,
Mm-hmm.
abe.com,
Mm-hmm.
whereby companies can advertise their openings and people can look for jobs, and we don't charge anything. It's absolutely free. But what we did was initiate close ties with almost 2,000 manufacturing schools in the U.S. and Canada,
Oh,
and we
excellent.
sent copies to their students just prior to them entering the workforce.
That's wonderful because that does cut through all the noise of getting right to the type of jobs that these individuals will want.
That's
And
right.
then you become a trusted source if you're connected with these manufacturing schools, because then the students know this is where we should be going.
Exactly. And that's why our circulation grows year to year, but it's quality circulation. Now, the other
Plus, it's
thing,
also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it also must be great to get these students who maybe just graduated to become subscribers right at the beginning of their career.
it is
Because you give them that information you need, maybe that step up they might need when they go to that interview to talk about a trend or a technique or a software that they read about, which shows that they are interested in the space, they're knowledgeable in the space, and will be an asset to hire.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's all tied in. But the one other thing that we do, which is incredibly important, when a company advertises with us, we send out full contact lead information, name, company, phone number, mailing address, email address, personal phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we do it is if someone subscribes, if we get a subscriber to our magazine,
Mm-hmm.
they fill out their email and they're subscribed, right? That's all they have to do initially. 1 week later, they receive a subscriber card asking for them to fill out information. Now, whether they do or not, or they fill it out partially, we have a telephone bank which phones them to garner their full information. And we do that with all 280,000 subscribers. Although I must say that of the 280,000, approximately 160,000, give or take, are unique.
Okay. Okay.
In other words,
So I just wanted to point out to our audience because they may not understand the importance of this, but when a subscriber self-reports their information, that's when your accuracy is much higher than if you are looking at compiled data that is just being scraped or harvested off a variety of different sources. So I wanted to point that out because some people don't understand why there's a better quality when they go to a source like TechGen versus, like I just mentioned, just big, huge compiled data. We all get those emails in every day saying, we've got this list of millions of records and you can do whatever title you want, whatever industry. Those people haven't reported the information and it's probably not opted in or compliant. So be very careful what you use. And TechGen, like Alan just told us, the individual, Donna Peterson, if she subscribed, Donna Peterson is giving them the other information, which is very important.
That's right. And the hardcore leads that we send out, they've all opted to allow us to do that. But let me explain the mechanism of garnering this information, how we know who clicks onto an ad,
Yeah.
or editorial for that matter. If someone is a subscriber, they're given a number, donna.peterson@worldwide.com backslash subscriber 29,303.
Mm-hmm.
When Donna clicks onto an ad, we look at that number and we know, and we have all your information.
Right. Right.
So we can process that. Now, we cannot do it if someone visits our website. That's different.
Right.
But all our publications, our subscribers have whitelisted us to receive this in their inbox. So we can do that for you.
Right. And that's so important because if you're able to track an individual, as we know, you're able to see how interested they are or what they're interested in. You know, I'm sure you can search by a specific keyword like automotive or aerospace or medical, and then you can pick those people together in a specific segment. And if you can segment, that's when you can promote to them more directly. Because if you send them a marketing message where you almost are reading their mind, you know, you're talking to them of exactly what they want, the people are going to be like, oh my gosh, they so get me. I've got to look into their product or service.
And we can segment by industry, by job title, by geographically,
Mm-hmm.
size of shop. We're capable of doing all of this.
I know that has helped us because I work with a lot of industrial auction companies, and depending on the equipment that is up for sale, we need to make those selection criteria so that we are reaching the decision makers in a specific area that might want that specific CNC piece of equipment. That makes the marketing more effective, more responsive, and obviously they get more registrants.
Absolutely, because very
Yeah.
often, I mean, let's face it, they're selling expensive equipment. Even though they're holding an auction,
Yeah.
people are going to want to see the machine and kick the tires before they write that check.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That's why it's so good. So when we talked about like, what do you see as like the biggest challenge in the metalworking space?
Workforce.
Workforce.
The reshoring initiative is underway. It's huge. Our industry is going to grow exponentially in the future, but we need qualified workers. Fortunately, with the latest equipment, you need fewer workers per machine, but you still need qualified workers. We need machinists. We need welders, and that's why we tied in so strongly with the 2,000 schools.
Mm-hmm.
We need this workforce.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was talking to someone else about this. And, you know, everyone wants to go kind of the digital route, the tech route, finance route. But there is something about this metalworking space that I find to be very interesting, and how it can definitely tie into certain individuals, their attributes that will make them extremely successful in this space if they got to know it well, and then they know where to find the good jobs.
Towards that end, Donna, Abby.com solves many of those issues. It's an extremely well thought out website. You check if you're a company looking for an employee, You check off the state you're looking for, city, proximity. Then you check off, do you want a machinist, a
Oh,
welder,
wow.
air
Yeah.
engineer,
Yeah.
uh, even salespeople. We have every title, strictly manufacturing. And then the company posts a description of the job. They can post competitive salary or salary they're offering, should they wish.
Hmm.
And then we arrange, and then we vet the applicants to see if they're qualified, and we put the two together.
It
So
sounds interesting as you're saying this, and I've never been on one, but you almost feel like you're a dating site. You're trying to find those two parties that will be a perfect match, which you'll save the employer a lot of time in interviewing people that aren't appropriate, but also on the flip side, the interviewee won't be wasting their time going after jobs that are not a good fit.
that's right. And employers,
Yeah,
depending on the job, pay huge fees to agencies to find them people.
right.
And it's enormous. And this is absolutely free. It's a service to the industry. It's tied in with Reshoring America, who we work very closely with. Um, and we've tried to create a perfect environment for manufacturers to solve their issues in that area.
That sounds like a wonderful thing, and more people should be promoting that. It's abby.com, correct?
Correct. ABBE.com.
Okay, well, I got to make sure I promote that every place I see, because I've heard this before about the biggest challenge being, getting people to work. And if you can do this, like you said, manufacturers right now, they have so many issues. They've got supply chain, you've got your employees. And if you can go on to abby.com, start getting the people that you need in-house so that you can increase your production. I know with my industrial auction guys, why they're being so successful right now is because they're able to get that equipment into the facilities right away. But now you need to be able to get the people to work those those machines
Right.
into the facility right away.
That's right. Uh, so it's long run, Abby.com is, I view it as a, what is, what, what's the big jobs search website? I always forget.
Oh, I want to say
ZipRecruiter.
lead.com, but
We're ZipRecruiter.com,
okay,
except that on ZipRecruiter.com, you can't find a machinist, a field service technician, a welder. That's all
right,
we have. This is
right.
what we have.
Well, you see, you cut through all the other noise, all of the other jobs. You're pinpointing it strategically just to those types of jobs, which, like you said, is going to save time for both parties. And it's a wonderful thing to be offering out there for U.S. manufacturing.
That's right.
Because, like yourself, I know I'm happy to see it. It is rising. It's going to continue to thrive. That's great for America. And this will be a wonderful thing for these companies to utilize.
That's it. And that's, yeah, that's,
Good.
and
All
it
right.
ties it.
Then I have one other question for you today. And I'm just curious, like, what do you see as a significant marketing obstacle that a lot of manufacturing companies are having, or really any company that you deal with is having?
Uh, that they're still too tied to the old line marketing of print advertising and branding. Their customers who look at a print magazine, the ones that do, learn nothing about the product. They just see the name of the company. And if you advertise it 12 times a year in one magazine over 10 years, well, that person has seen your name 120 times and doesn't
Right.
know anything. When you advertise digitally, not just with us, but when you advertise digitally, you learn about the product. You can watch a video, you're
Mm-hmm.
educated,
Mm-hmm.
and you also achieve branding. You do both at the same time, but you're
Yeah.
leaving someone with greater knowledge than before they actually looked at your ad.
Yep. And I'm smiling because I am a big proponent on relationship building. And the best way to start to form relationships is by offering valuable content that educates the individual. Let that individual walk away with something, something to look at, some initiative to do, a webinar to attend, something that offers them value that'll help them do their job better is much better than years ago. Remember, years ago, you've been in the industry as much as myself. Our company's been around for 42 years.
Mhm.
And marketing used to be, you used to just throw out these big, huge promotions that were very generic to everyone, just talking about how old our company is, how great our product was. That's all marketing was. And now it is just so much more.
There's no question, and it continues to change. I mean,
Mhm.
e-campaigns are extremely important. We give full contact information for anyone who opens and clicks on to your website or your link in an e-campaign. And our open rates are incredible. They're hovering around 12%.
Mhm.
And if it's a company with a very well-known name, a
Yeah.
Miller Electric or a Trump or a Makino, far
Mhm.
higher than that. Um, so it works very, very well.
So what do you see as the best package? Because I know you can't just do one off of anything and get the results that you used to. And people will say, okay, let's do an email blast. Let's do some social posting. Let's do some newsletter banners. Are you seeing one combination to be more successful than another?
They work hand in hand.
Okay.
They absolutely work hand in hand. As a basic bread and butter, the advertising in the magazine tied in with cogent editorial,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a shop that the company itself is selling to or another company they compete with. Uh, that's a basic,
Mm-hmm.
and that will land in leads of excellent quality. E-campaigns as well. You need both.
Yeah.
You absolutely need both. Um,
I agree. I think there are channels you need them. People say, oh, this is dead or this is dead, but you need them all in order to complement each other and to build that knowledge in the individual or their prospect that you're a thought leader in your space.
that's exactly what you have to do. And over
Mm,
time, you are you build recognition as a thought leader.
yeah.
And you can take a third tier company, and
Yeah.
I know some incredibly well-known names now that 20 years ago were not effective marketers
Right.
that right now are huge because they've turned it around. They understood the marketing
Yeah.
of the
That's what
product.
I've seen since COVID, a big change because it's still leading into COVID. It was quantity. Quantity over quality. Now it all has to be about quality and every piece of content. Like you said, if you write an article, you place it out in the magazine, put something with depth to it.
Mhm. And use video.
Yes. Good.
Video's key. I mean,
Mhm.
and obviously you can see a video in our magazine, and if someone clicks on the video, we capture that link as well, that address as well. But
Right.
you can't get a better lead than that.
No, that's great. All right, Alan, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This was very insightful, the information you gave us about the metalworking industry and U.S. manufacturing as a whole.
Donna, I appreciate the time and I want to thank you.
All right, great. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You also. Thanks, Donna.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss our next episode. And in the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, please feel free to send me an email to dpeterson@worldinnovators.com. Till next time, have a great day.